Now let's get going, folks, and we'll begin like we will every day here on Menzoid Mornings with something that's really grinding my gears. Time now for the Menzoid monologue. Well, folks, here's someone you are not going to see on the CBC anytime soon. Well, at least not when it comes to any new hires by our taxpayer-funded broadcaster.
I got long sideburns and my hair slicked back.
Introducing the challenger from Memphis, Tennessee, the Honky Tonk Man.
Take rattle and roll, Michael. Honky held the Intercontinental Championship for 1 year, 2 months, and 27 days. A record.
Ah, yes, the Honky Tonk Man. He's cool, he's cocky, he's bad, and he's the greatest WWF Intercontinental Champion of all time. But the Honky Tonk Man is damaged goods, at least in the eyes of the CBC. You see, because he's, well, Caucasian. And alas, honkies need not apply for CBC jobs. Being a paleface is too offensive for the forward-thinking progressives running the so-called People's Network. Yes, here's the dealio. An agency for the CBC posted a help wanted ad for a children's show earlier this week that read, "Any race except Caucasian can apply." The line was quietly removed, however, after it drew public ire, and the CBC attributed the language to human error. I guess that's what they call honesty. Here's what a CBC spokesthingy had to say, quote, "CBC sends a letter to our partners, casting agents included, for scripted and commissioned programming which clearly states our guidelines for fair and open casting practices. Regrettably, in this particular instance, an error was made by the casting agency that has since been corrected." But you know what, folks, as they say down on the Midway, let's not kid the kidders here, shall we? You see, the CBC might be throwing its recruitment agency under the bus right now, but it is doing so because the recruitment firm was simply being honest. Here's the language it was undoubtedly supposed to use. Quote, "Committed to the principles of employment equity, the CBC encourages applications from Aboriginal people, people with disabilities, racial minorities, and women." You see, that sounds a whole lot better than "whitey need not apply," no? Except for one thing, such a PC-approved sentence means exactly the same thing. No honkies. Lovely. It's all about equity, presumably, but what's equitable about purposely excluding an identifiable group and picking and choosing favorites? What's equitable in playing the race card in 2013? Now, apologists for such hiring policies will say there's no exclusion at all and that the CBC is merely encouraging applications from non-whites. Indeed, such employment language being used is akin to getting an invitation to an event that reads, "You and your spouse are cordially invited to a garden party. Actually, we especially really want your spouse to attend." You see, no exclusion per se, folks, but the unspoken message is coming through loud and clear. Look, in a country as culturally and racially diverse as Canada, surely most smart and savvy employers have moved away from discrimination based on skin color and sex. It's an increasingly competitive world out there, and surely employers want the best person for the job. It should be all about merit. If that is not the case, then the employer is cheating the best qualified applicant. And you know what? The employer is cheating itself. Call it what you like, employment equity, affirmative action, or just garden variety racism or apartheid. Such preferential hiring practices are odious and insulting. Such policies are even detrimental to those visible minorities they're meant to help. For example, what if a visible minority applicant truly was the best candidate for the job? For companies espousing employment equity programs, that person would have to live with office whisper campaigns that the only reason he or she was hired was due to that candidate's skin color. That's just not right. Perhaps white, able-bodied males did indeed enjoy preferential hiring and promotion in the workplace decades ago. But how does it make sense to discriminate against young, white able-bodied males today who are just now entering the workforce. Are they truly expected to pay for the so-called sins of the father? The time has come for all employers, especially those in the public sector and the academic world, which routinely discriminates against white males, to simply seek out the best qualified candidate for the job. Period. End of story. As that old chestnut goes, two wrongs do not make a right. In fact, if any entity is practicing racism here, it is the CBC. Namely, it is embracing the racism of lowered expectations. In the meantime, this policy won't be an issue for me or my ilk come 2031. You see, folks, that's when Caucasians will actually be a visible minority group in Toronto, given current demographic trends. Then again, come 2031, I'll be pushing 70. Golly, you don't think the CBC would decline my application because I'm a septuagenarian, do you? Gosh, it just seems that yours truly just can't catch a break. If it's not anti-white racism, it's simply ageism. Oh, it's so complicated. Indeed, as the Honky Tonk Man would say, I'm just a white man singing the blues. And that's the Menzoid monologue.